Debbie for an interesting kōrero together. Thanks, Debbie.
Kia ora, and thank you very much, Paula, for that lovely introduction. First of all, just some heads up on my voice, etc. today, because I'm just recovering from the flu. It's been a bit of a knockout flu. I'm into week 2. My husband's actually week 3, so if I am getting the need to blow my nose, do excuse me. And if my voice starts breaking up, do excuse me on that as well. Before I bring the slides up, I would just like to address the elephant in the room. Paula did bring this to my attention earlier, and it was just to do with some of the comments that have been on Facebook, Leanne's Facebook. I may as well get this out of the way now. So some of the comments, of course, were around, what are libraries doing? Discussing AI and considering AI and all the rest of it, and ethically this is wrong, and what about all the copyright breaches and all the rest of it? And that was around the promotion of this presentation. So I just wanted to address that very quickly now by quoting from Michael Hannigan, who was recently quoted in the write-up in ALA's publication after the ALA annual conference for 2026. So this is what he says, and it's just something to consider. So Michael Hannigan, he's the founder for the Centre for the Future of Learning and Work, and he made a very strong statement at the conference. So this is what he said: disengaging with AI guarantees your vulnerability, and it guarantees harm to your position. So even if you don't like it, even if you don't want to use it, the people that you serve will be harmed without your help. Now, when I read that, I thought, oh, he's really fear-mongering. He's coming from a point of fear, and this is a really, quick and dirty way to actually engage us into knowing more about AI. But I don't want to come at it entirely from a point of fear. What I'm seeing and what I've created here is in response to the customers that come into our library. So this is Waitaki District Libraries. And I wanted to respond in a positive way to empower people and educate people around AI. Whether they like it or not, unfortunately for all of us, AI is embedded almost everywhere on the internet now. So if it's not embedded yet, it will be embedded very soon. And then the other thing that I'm going to be talking about today is not AI in general, but generative AI. So generative AI, we do have a definition of that, and I'm going to bring up my slides shortly. I'll talk to that and a little bit around that. So needless to say, generative AI is quite a weak or narrow type of AI. It's not like AI where robots are using it and learning by themselves autonomously how to do things. It's not about that. Generative AI is quite different. So I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully this will go without a hitch, so bear with. And it hasn't gone without a hitch, so see if I can find what I'm after. I'm going to have to just go through some tabs.
That's it, Debbie. That's working.
Yep, and I've just got to find my slide. Here we go. All right. No, we're just going to have to move this out of the way. Okay, can you see the big screen that says Gen AI?
Perfect. Well done.
All right, so this is a self-led learning presentation. These slides can actually be downloaded from the Waitaki District Library's website. I've just put that up today. So I'm going to walk you through this. Most of it, of course, I'll be almost reading off the screen, but in the hope that these will generate some questions for you. So if you've got any questions, as Paula said, just pop them in the chat. All images on the slides are created by Canva, because Canva's AI generate. I'm a big fan of Canva, and of course they've had AI for quite some time. So the presentation points that we're covering is what is generative AI. So that's often cut down to Gen AI. And how do I use Gen AI, or how do you use Gen AI? Gen AI prompts and best practices, things to look out for, which is kind of my area of specialties. Some useful information, literacy tools and tips, and making the most of Gen AI. So hence the title of this presentation, 6 Impossible Things Before Breakfast. Okay, so what is generative AI? Well, one of my tools, and I've just got to stop moving this thing so it doesn't bounce around. One of my Gen AI tools that I use at work, which is already part and parcel of Microsoft, which is what we use at work, is Copilot. So I asked Copilot, and I thought its definition was very good, and I've compared that with a few other definitions. So this one's really good. It refers to models that learn patterns from large amounts of data. So things like images or text or music. And then it uses those patterns to generate something that's supposedly new that resembles what it's learned. And at this point, like I said, I'd like to explain that Gen AI is a narrow field of AI. It's not learning new skills autonomously like a robot could be, and that technology is still in progress. Although any of the committee members might actually debate that point, so do bring that up. And then, of course, there is super AI, which is AI that outperforms humans in just about all fields, and that's not here yet, although the prediction is around 5 to 10 years, which is a little bit scary. So as far as generative AI goes, I think Copilot has actually got a good definition there. If you need more information on generative AI, you can go to the Lianza website and also find out more around Gen AI on the AI page too. Okay, so what it can create? Well, that depends on the model, but generative AI can produce text, images, audio, video, or code. And we've used a bit of coding. We've done a bit of coding work at Waitaki District Libraries, especially around reports. We use Koha, which is an open source library management system, and therefore Gen AI has already scraped all that coding from Koha, and we can pretty much feed our Koha questions into Copilot and ask it to generate reports, and it will just go into that code. It's already got it, and start creating reports for us. So that's quite handy. It's probably not as easy to do if, for example, you were on Kōtui, simply because they have copyrighted their coding. And how it works is around training. I'm just going to get this out of the way. So the AI is trained on massive data sets, again, books, images, websites, etc. And of course, the ethics around this is mainly around copyright and intellectual property rights. So of course, there's going to be there are already lots of protests and robust discussion around, the problems that AI generates around this sort of ripping off, I guess, of people's work. However, it's happening, and hopefully they, the powers that be can get some rules and policies in there. Learning patterns, it learns relationships, like how words go together, or how visual features form objects, and generation. So when it's given a prompt, which we are going to explore in a minute, so to write a poem about the ocean, it's going to predict and create new content based on what it's learned. Okay, so if you ask generative AI what a short story write a short story about a talking cat, a traditional program would just struggle unless it was pre-programmed. So AI doesn't struggle. It invents characters and dialogue. It will produce a completely new story on the spot, and it will hopefully understand your request. Generative AI is getting pretty good now at understanding your requests, but prompts are really important. And like I said, we'll talk about prompts soon. So, how do you use AI, Gen AI? Well, you need to pick a generative AI tool. So, like I said earlier, we use Copilot at work. That's built into MS Edge browser. You can use ChatGPT. That's been around for some time. Google Gemini, which is built into Google as AI mode. And you can also use image tools like DALL-E or Midjourney, or Canva, for example, which is what I've used to create this presentation. DuckDuckGo AI as well. DuckDuckGo AI does use a pared-down version of ChatGPT, so just keep that in mind. I have compared the two. DuckDuckGo AI's responses and answers aren't as good as ChatGPT, simply because it is just a narrowed-down version of ChatGPT. You don't need to use multiple tools to start, just choose one and just go for it. So any of those ones that I've listed there are just fine. So prompts, this is the really important practice when using AI. It's so essential to getting the answers that you need. So, you know, a prompt is basically what you want and any helpful details that go around what you want. And I'll give you some examples next. So it's really important to be clear and concise when creating your prompts. So try to ask your question in a clear and concise manner. So avoid using ambiguous or vague language, because that can just lead to confusion, just as it would in real life with a person. I've got some examples here that I've actually used with my customers, hence the reference to Oamaru. So you could ask Gen AI, say Copilot or ChatGPT, can you tell me about the best restaurants? That's going to get you every single restaurant under the sun. So you really want to be a little bit more definite and specific about your prompting. So a better way to ask that question is, can you recommend some highly rated restaurants in Oamaru, for example, or wherever you are, that are good for a romantic dinner? So hopefully you will get the answer that you need with those more concise prompts. Another example is just to provide some context. So if your question requires that context, then Gen AI is very happy to receive it. So if you're going to ask what is the meaning of life, that's quite a vague sort of question. Better to ask what is the meaning of life, and here's the context, according to the philosophy of, for example, existentialism. So it's got some keywords there that can then go and grab the more accurate response too. It's really good to use complete sentences. This makes it easier for Gen AI to understand what you are asking again. So don't just say meaning of word, ask what is the meaning of the word, and then tell it the word and how it's used in a sentence. And avoid technical jargon. So instead of saying, what is the ROI for our recent marketing campaign, what is the return on investment is a better way to phrase that prompt for, and then the rest of the question. It's always good to ask follow-up questions. So if you are doing a single prompt and you're not getting quite what you need, it's a bit like when you use Google. Think about those keywords, think about those the context, like I said, think about, making the question more accurate. You can really get it to extrapolate on, the issues or ideas that it might have brought up itself. For example, I've asked ChatGPT, please recommend books written like or by the author, Mary Sutcliffe or whatever. and then it'll come up with a list of other authors. And then after it's done that list, you can then ask it, are there any other authors you can recommend? And it's surprising how many times it will actually continue to bring up more authors. So never be afraid to ask it to extrapolate or to continue asking it questions. But be careful what you wish for. Of the 3 prompts below, one is a bit silly. I've set this up deliberately so. So what is the Dewey number for cats who ice skate? So I asked Copilot that. It gave me an answer. It did recognise that it was a silly question, but it still gave me an answer. And it gave me a Dewey number. So there is the Dewey number for cats that ice skate. So this brings us to what is commonly called an AI hallucination. You may have heard that bandied about. An AI hallucination, as it says here, it's when artificial intelligence systems generates information that is incorrect, made up, it's more usually the case, or unsupported by reality, as is the case here. But it presents it very confidently as if it were true. So really important to think about how you critically analyse some of the prompts that it's coming up with. And there'll be more about that later on in this presentation. Okay, and speaking of which, things to look out for with Gen AI. So it's not a source. It only generates responses. It may not reliably identify, create, or verify original evidence. You've also, as well as being wary of AI hallucinations, you've got to be aware that Gen AI answers are, as I said earlier, written confidently and politely, which can make them feel trustworthy, but isn't necessarily so. And if a claim matters, like I said earlier, don't stop at one source. Look for other coverage on the same topic, especially from independent sources, trusted independent sources outside of your chosen Gen AI tool or platform. So it's always good to ask yourself, do multiple credible sources agree? Is this information presented in context, and does evidence support the claim? Also, as I said earlier, for more information, check the regular columns on artificial intelligence in Leanne's Library Life, and also refer to Leanne's website dedicated to AI. Okay, as a library professional, there are some things to keep in mind. You know, Gen AI is not neutral or perfect. You're using it as a tool, not as a final authority. Think about the context and use your own judgment. I can't stress that enough. Use your own judgment. And we've all got the skills as librarians to fall back on to use that judgment and to build on it. So before you start, check your settings. AI tools may have settings that affect how your information is stored or used. This is especially true when entering personal or sensitive information at work. You really want to check with your organisation to see if it has a policy and find out what use is permissible. Other things to think about: can your chats and prompts be used to train or improve the tool? So I've been working with Copilot for some time now around I've been building on some methodology around critical analysis. And it actually remembers what I'm putting in, which is kind of scary, but fantastic as well. But you want to know if you can turn that on or off. You want to know if you can delete chats or files that you upload, and if the tool is free or paid. And what does your workplace, school, or organisation allow, like I said earlier. And think about what's allowable at home as well. If you've got kids, for example. So avoid putting private or culturally sensitive information or copyrighted information into AI. Yeah, just some good notes to keep in mind. It's also good to consider accuracy in made-up information, bias, and whose knowledge is represented, copyright, reuse and attribution, intellectual property rights, training data and consent, privacy and confidentiality. Really important topic for us at the moment for the committee is Māori data sovereignty and cultural knowledge. Environmental impacts, which are generating a lot of robust debate right now. And of course, over-reliance on AI outputs. And, I've seen some studies recently where younger children who are being brought up on AI, their brain is beginning to sort of compartmentalize into lots of scattered, broken up ways of thinking. And so language is kind of losing out a little bit. So lots of things to think about, lots of things that research is only just beginning to discover now. Okay, other things to look out for. Gen AI is limited. It's language-based, it's not logic-based. Language is easier on its basic neural network, but maths is not. It's biased. For example, it's very Americanized, and I've put a capital Z there, as you can see on my slide. Commas after ands, so just watch that grammar. And it could get worse when it begins to get monetized. So that's also something to think about. Some people think that if you pay for the use of AI, it's going to be better, but that's not necessarily true. We're biased in the way we convey our prompts, so that's something to think about. There are, of course, potential plagiarism issues and, of course, the potential to help students cheat. Gen AI also puts you in a bubble once it gets to know you. If it knows you're a librarian without prompting, and it remembers what you've been doing with it, it's going to begin to feed you library-oriented or library-framed information. So it's going to confirm and reconfirm your interests and biases just as much as social media does, if not more. Okay, so on the flip side of that, Gen AI can be quite useful if you're going to use it. It's good to use it so that you can be ready with any questions that your customers may have. So there's actually more than 6 impossible things before breakfast. I've come up with 8. So we'll start with number 1. Content is king. So it can do writing for you, emails, letters, reports. Some of you may have seen I'm on Outlook, of course, Microsoft at work here, and it's AI is already Copilot's offering to summarize the emails that I get in my inbox every day. Blog posts and articles, you can get those written. You can feed it prompts that will generate some good posts. Stories, poems and scripts, summaries and rewrites, CVs and cover letters. With image and design, illustrations, concept art, so I use Canva, it's all built into Canva. Posters, flyers, logos, social media graphics, photo editing and enhancements. And with audio and video, voice narration, music generation, video scripts and storyboards. You can use it for research and learning. Gen AI can explain complex ideas simply. I know my son uses it when he's doing his study. We have no problems with that at home. It certainly breaks down some full-on stuff that he's learning into simple ideas. It can summarize books, papers, and articles. It can answer questions and generate study notes, create quizzes and flashcards, and help with language learning. As a librarian, Gen AI is especially powerful for readers advisory, like I mentioned before. research support, and information literacy. It can also help you get things done faster. Office tasks, for example, it can draft documents and policies, create presentations, generate meeting notes and minutes, and organise ideas or outlines. The data and analysis, and it can explain spreadsheets, generate reports, and spot patterns at a basic level. It can't do maths, but it can spot patterns. Code and technical help. As I mentioned earlier, we've been using it at work here with our Koha library management system. It can write or explain codes like SQL, which is what we use. It can troubleshoot errors. It can automate simple tasks, and it can generate formulas, for example, on Excel. Also great for brainstorming and creativity. Book displays or library programs, we've used AI a reasonable amount for our book displays. We recently had a manga book cover design competition where we used Canva for the promotional stuff, but we also created on ChatGPT image generator a blank book cover where our customers could create their own book covers within the framework. Event themes, marketing slogans, it's very good at coming up with those, story ideas and plot twists, and art and craft projects. So I have fed ChatGPT before with a list of materials that we have on hand, like pipe cleaners, glue and paper and string and stuff like that, and asked it to come up with some projects, and it's come up with about half a dozen really awesome craft projects actually. One of them was a wind-up toy that worked, so it's pretty good at that. Number 6 is automation and agents. So it can handle repetitive tasks, draft replies automatically, process documents, and assist in workflows like cataloguing aids, metadata suggestions. It also works behind the scenes. I know that some library management systems are already doing this behind the scenes with the automation. Communication and translation, it can translate languages. This is one of its real strong points. It will translate smoothly from English to Te Reo, for example, and vice versa. It can simplify technical writing for general audiences. It can adjust your tone. If you're coming across as quite formal but you want to make it friendly, it can certainly do that for you. On Copilot, for example, I can feed it a Microsoft Word document that I've written up and ask it to live adjust my tone. So it will hop into my Microsoft Word program and actually live adjust for me once I've fed it what I'm doing. And it can rewrite content for different audiences. So really powerful there. Last but not least, it's got some very library-specific uses. Cataloguing and metadata, so it will suggest headings or keywords. I've asked it frequently when I've been cataloguing my non-fiction for jury numbers if I really am struggling to get the correct jury classification for it. It can generate summaries or annotations. It can help interpret classification systems and answer cataloguing questions. Reader's advisory, like I said earlier, it can recommend books by themes, mood, or authors. It can create book lists and displays, and I have generated some of those and given them to our customers as far as book lists go. It can match readers to titles, which is fantastic. So you can input what your reader's really interested in, and it will go and find titles. For programming, it can design workshops and activities. So that's holiday programming, for example, or educational programming. It can also build outreach content. So information services, it can answer reference style questions. We have used it at the desk here at Waitaki. It's assisted with search strategies for us. We haven't used it for explaining databases or systems, but it can be used. And of course, generating tailored reports for or to your library management system, if your library management system allows that. So that's 8 impossible things that are really quite possible on Gen AI. So you don't need to be an expert to start using generative AI. You just need a bit of curiosity and a willingness to try. Think of it as a helpful friend or partner. It can support your ideas and save you time and spark creativity. Maybe not a friend, maybe more a colleague. It's okay to experiment and make mistakes and learn as you go. And of course, that's how your confidence grows. That's how mine has grown, and my colleagues' confidence has grown just by getting out there, having a little bit of fun, and a laugh as you go along, which we've been doing. And just remember that your knowledge and judgment and unique perspectives are what make AI truly useful. So you're not replacing your skills, you're just expanding on them. Right, there we are. Thank you.
Oh, Debbie, wow.
Questions. I know that was a bit of a fast run through, and now I've got to actually get out of the screen so I can see everyone. Okay. I think I'm there.
If people want to, given that there's just over 150 of us in the virtual room, if you've got a question or would like Debbie to perhaps expand or unpick one of the impossible things in more detail, either just unmic yourself or pop your hand up. We've also got Erin in the room who chairs the Lienza AI Standing Committee, so throwing you right into it, Erin.
Yeah, and if there's any I mean, you know, we're happy for a bit of debate as well and some robust discussion. I know we've got 20 minutes left, and I did race through that. So, yeah, just feel free to put your hands up. I'm going to look through the chat now, Paula, as well. So maybe I could.
And maybe, Erin, would you want to talk to your comment you popped in the chat about using Anthropic Claude? That's a...
Yeah, sure. Kia ora koutou. I guess I've been experimenting for a while, so there are lots of tools out there, and Claude is quite popular. I think though Debbie's advice is right on the money. Like, just pick one because it can be overwhelming. So if you've got one at your work, if you've got you know, you can use a free one. I think just be really careful with what you put into the free ones, especially when you're beginning. I wouldn't put in anything too personal or confidential, but just have a play, because I think that's how you learn. And often you learn when something doesn't quite work, and that could be because of the instruction that you've given it. So test it out on something that you do know the answer to as well, or ask it something really creative as well to have a bit of fun. Learning is supposed to be fun as well, so I think kind of embrace that. So I think you did a great job, Debbie. So thank you.
We've got some questions come through now in the chat. So are you able to see those, Debbie?
Yes, yep. So I've seen Lucy's one. And I've also seen Eliza's here as well. So can we use this excellent PowerPoint on our websites? Yes, of course. So I've put the Creative Commons reference up on the Waitaki District Libraries website. So if you go to Waitaki District Libraries, and there's a tab on our home screen called Learn. If you click on Learn, you'll see that generative AI is on the list there. Just click on that and the slide is available there. I can also share the slides if you want to use them for your own practice. I can certainly do that as well. So I will leave my email with you, Paula. If you just contact Paula, she can then let me know. Would that work for you, Paula?
Yeah, everyone who's registered will send the slides out and the link to the recording. So, and any other questions, just forward them to the Lianza office, and yep, you'll all get answered.
And then Eliza's come up with a good question too about Gen AI. So I've used Copilot for Te Reo Māori. I am no expert in Te Reo Māori, but I have found it helpful for some basic things. I wouldn't necessarily use it to like do a massive, translation into Te Reo Māori, for example. I wouldn't use it for that, but certainly for helping me understand some basic stuff, I found it to be quite useful. But again, it's AI. I also use the Māori dictionary online as well, so I'm always constantly source checking. I wouldn't use it exclusively, but it is it's quite powerful for languages. Yep, keeping those other things in mind. I'm just looking through. So, Amy, in response to your question, which is, have you developed training for your staff at Waitaki? That is what I'm doing right now. We have recently had quite a big restructure at Waitaki District Library. So we've been reduced in numbers as far as staff goes. So what I'm doing at the moment is what I've done here. I've created these slides not just for staff at the library, but also for our customers as well. So those slides can be used either way. I've also been doing quite a bit of writing around the subject of using Gen AI to critically assess itself. And I've got an article coming up soon in Lianza's Library Life on that, and I'd be really keen to hear what people think about what I've come up with. And of course, I also just want to add that I'm still learning as well. We're all still learning, and not all of it. I understand the ethics and the real major concerns behind AI, and the more I get to know it, the less I like it. However, I still feel it's really important that we all take responsibility to get to know it so that we can help our customers avoid those pitfalls. So yes and yes. I've also got a question from Michael Brown here. Are you or anybody else thinking about adding an AI-powered chatbot to your library website to help online users find answers quickly? No, not at this stage. That's a bigger question that goes along with our Waitaki District Council team. Having said that, they are employing it through, I think it's Genesis, at the Waitaki District Council. So Genesis is the program. It's being used with our customer service team here at the council, and it's basically a knowledge base that can be drawn upon by AI. So people can hop onto the website. My understanding is that AI is powering that question and prompt reply process. So yes and no. Probably not specifically for our website yet. So Dana's got here, and I love this question. So you're skeptical of the claim that Gen AI enhances creativity. Being creative or being a creative is a process, and the process process includes stumbles and trips as you learn your craft. I'm an artist, so I completely understand this. This is also what being creative is about, but it's also being human. I do use AI to help with my own creative processes, mainly around brainstorming. So I find it's useful for writing, and I find it useful for my visual arts as well. But it's more around just generating different ideas and scenarios, I guess, more than anything. But I mean, it's each to their own. Some people just want to steer clear completely of Gen AI. and we'll probably agree with you, Dana. And Sasha, how are we doing for time? Sasha says, we've had some difficulty lately with AI hallucinating, yes, particularly Gemini and Google search results, sources, and people sending us research inquiries based on this incorrect information. Yes, I completely agree with this one. And in fact, this is an old problem that goes back many decades. We used to have children when I was working at the Palmerston North City Library 20 odd years ago, coming in with questions, homework questions that were taken out of the Women's Weekly. There was I don't know, there was some sort of a quiz in the Women's Weekly, and a couple of teachers would lift that quiz out and use it for homework questions, and some of the questions were wrong or spelt wrong. So I guess it's like anything else, you've got to look at your source and go from there. So it's really about, as you say, educating people about, the benefits and limitations. And that's hopefully what this presentation has done.
Yeah,
I
just
hope
to
that
add,
kind of helps.
yeah, to add to that, that's being seen in a lot of sectors. I've been speaking to a lot of people within law about that as well, with clients using the free Gen AI tools, which is, we want people to have improved access to justice, but it's, the capability of some of the free tools and the sources that are in there are not as accurate as some of the paid tools. It depends on the area. So I think this is, librarians and information professionals have always led with helping people understanding how to find information, what is good. And I think this is really a time where we can showcase those skills. We've always been part of emerging and new technologies, and AI is it is transformative what's happening with how information is being created and accessed. So it's definitely an opportunity to be involved. And the more you learn, the more I think you can grow in your confidence to be part of those discussions. There's always more to learn, but there always is in every topic. And so that's why we are running these sessions, and we've just had a session last month, I think it was, on the Leanza values and working with AI. So there's so many issues about I guess just working with the information, but to be involved because everyone's viewpoint is important, and people do have different viewpoints, and that's okay.
Thanks, Erin. True, people do have different viewpoints, and they're changing all the time as well. And the technology is changing too, fast, including, these big data centers. I know the Chinese are looking at different ways of running those data centers, so they're not drawing on fresh water but on seawater, for example, salt water. So it's about building that context and finding out more about things and comparing those sources and not just using it alone, like you say. Abigail Abigail asked about how do you find it for readers advisory and book lists. Well, we've found it to be pretty good. Certainly for older authors, the authors that have been around for some time. Newer authors, I haven't really experimented so much. I'd be interested to see what experiences other people have had on that. If anybody's got any comments. No, maybe that could be a great way to start, actually, is to choose one of your AI tools and just give it a go. I think that's how we pretty much started, actually. We went with ChatGPT when it came out a couple of years ago, and we started to ask it those readers advisory questions, and we were pretty happy with the results. We compared it with Fantastic Fiction, which is an online readers advisory service, and it was pretty good. So yeah, I would recommend you starting off with that perhaps. And Chris has asked, does anyone work for an organisation? Sorry, my voice is going. That has policies regarding using AI for employee reports, documents, paperwork, etc. So we do have some pretty robust policies, but but it's also quite wide, and it's quite flexible. Like, we can do the things that I talked about in my presentation. I haven't had any concerns raised about the stuff that I've been doing. I just wondered if anyone else wants to talk on that. I know, is it Andreas said he used Copilot to help draft their AI policy. I love that. And it was a really good starting point. So that's great to read there.
Yeah, I think one of the main things in the AI policies and guidance is that if it's your name on it, then it's your responsibility. So, and there's some sectors that have professional duties as well. So it can be hard when the temptation is there to do things quickly or to not verify, but that comes down to, putting your name on your work. So really making sure that what you're putting out is something that you can stand behind because you have checked it.
Mm-hmm. And then Dana Murphy's put, we need to be careful not to position Gen AI as an authority. Doing this takes away our consent. Remember that AI is the tool, not humans. So true. Yep. And Anika, sorry if I've pronounced this wrong, and please put your hand up if you want to speak to this. Has put, sharing for reference and interest, Bangor librarian Hannah Cyrus has been educating patrons and developing customer-focused workshops based on local demand from patrons wanting education about AI, including how to opt out if they don't wish to use it or wish to rescind access. So she's got a link there. I know that I think it might be in Australia or the UK. There is some legislation that's gone in, particularly targeting creatives who have opt-out options, say, for example, on Instagram or Facebook or Etsy or wherever, where they can say, but they have to actually tick a box that says somewhere in the fine print, I opt out for having my work shared on AI platforms or by AI platforms. So it can't be scraped, it can't be used as part of the AI's toolbox. Does Anika want to speak to that?
No, just sharing for reference, just wanting to have a really holistic view of the conversations that are going on out there and of our patrons' interests and, concerns.
Cool, thanks, Anika. And Abigail has put a reference to Dr. Sam Illingworth. Thanks, Abigail, for who offers some great resources on preserving our own knowledge and uniqueness while using generative AI tools as a thinking partner. And there's a page with a list of interactive resources on there and games, which people might enjoy sharing or exploring. And then Alicia How do we balance using AI tools when we have paid e-resources available? Well, personally, and I don't know if the committee want to comment on this, I think the more access, the better, to be honest. I think use both. We use fantastic fiction. We use Copilot, ChatGPT. We have got novelists. So, again, you've got another source to refer to and compare with. So I think that would be my reply.
Yeah, I think it's just adding another tool that's there, really. So making the most, and the delegation, so choosing when to use AI is important, and that's one of our skills that we build, as well as knowing the sources within our collection, and knowing when to use different tools out there. It does make it tricky, though, if you are managing a budget with all the licenses of what is out there, and it's obviously a very competitive market too. So I think that's a forthcoming session with the AI in practice, is about incorporating that and the changes to the roles that do manage budgets, with just all the resourcing and the license issues that can go with it.
Well, I think that's pretty much all the questions. Is there anyone else wanting to raise their hand?
Can't see any hands from my view. Debbie, wow. You've absolutely filled my mind and given me lots of things to follow up on, question, challenge myself. But mostly I've sat with my previous opinions, and this is giving me something to take those next few steps. There's so many claps and emojis coming through, so I'm imagining that many of us are sitting in the same place, creating this presentation on the back of your horrendous flu. We are so grateful. Thank you from us all. Erin, thank you for your comments and support in bringing this together too. Just for everybody's record, if you are on your Cert Lienza or professional registration journeys and you're wanting to use this webinar, there were heading suggestions in the email that promoted this webinar. If you're on your Cert Lienza journey, you could be attributing it to the personal attributes, information, knowledge and management, literature's reference and research services, or ethics and context, the tutorial headings. If ever you need any help with where to assign a webinar or a Lienza event, please just flick me an email, and I'm more than happy to look at where you're sitting and how the piece of professional development relates to you. If there are no other comments or questions, I'm just going to pop, oopsie daisy, no, I was going to put it into the chat, but I've lost it. I will close with karakia. The recording will be sent to you, and I'll pull out the links from that people have popped into the chat, as well as Debbie's PowerPoint presentation, and they'll be out to you midway through this week. So thanks everyone for giving up your time, contributing to this, and keep an eye on the Lienza website. We've got some pretty good, we think, webinars coming up, some interesting things around Wikimedia. So we're getting totally different lenses on information access and curation, some interesting reader advisory, a webinar coming up which will be part of a series, and an interesting Le Moana webinar too on Tuesday tomorrow, the TELSIG research group has been reformed and rebranded. Sorry, not the TELSIG group hasn't been, the journal discussion group has been rebranded. So it's now open to everyone in Lianza, and tomorrow at lunchtime there is a conversation and sharing of information around a new open access topic. It's on the Lianza website, so if you want to come along, I think we've got 50 odd people already registered for it. So we'll close with karakia. Ona hia te pō whiri marama, tomo kia te ao whatu tangata. Tātai ki runga, tātai ki raro, tātai ahoro. Humie, tā kie. Thanks again, Debbie. Have a great day, everybody.
Kia ora. Thank you.